Autism, what is it? Today, 60 individuals will be diagnosed with autism. 1 out of 150 children will be diagnosed with autism, and 1 out of 94 of those children will be boys. This number has increased drastically since 1992. Autism is a spectrum disorder, which means that the symptoms will vary from individual to individual. I'll be telling you about the following: diagnosis, the causes, symptoms, and behaviors of autism, which vary; treatment and therapy. I will discuss ABA therapy, which is a behavioral tracking system that helps track different techniques that have a positive outcome, and also working with autism in the child care setting, the school setting, and how an adult might live with autism. Diagnosis: there's no known cause for autism according to www.webmd.com, and I also found this true on several websites. It's highly controversial, which can be very frustrating for parents struggling with a child with autism. There are a couple of discussions about autism. Genetics has a big role, and that's basically the study of brain development that might cause autism. And then there was a huge controversy with MMR vaccinations. They studied it and they came to a conclusion that it was not MMR, but there's also people think that it wasn't studied hard enough, so that's still open for controversy. And then there's different environmental factors that might have happened in the prenatal stages, like allergies, different food allergies the mother might have had, or the baby had that the mother didn't have. Some of the symptoms of autism are like the individual will have little to no speech at all. They don't know how to talk, they don't know how to communicate. There'll be developmental delays in their fine and gross motor skills, maybe writing or walking. And some of these symptoms don't show up until they're 2 years old. They might also be no social interaction. They'd rather play alone and be alone than have someone around them invading their space. They get stressed by unfamiliar situations, unfamiliar people, unfamiliar sounds. Some of the behaviors might be some repetitive motions, like rocking back and forth with their body, fidgeting with their hands, fidgeting with their feet. You can look on videos on YouTube and you can see children with autism. They line up toys for things to be in order, and then sometimes hitting themselves or hitting others. Instead of using their words, they use hand gestures to reach for things that they want. And they also have very impulsive reactions. They don't think about what they're going to do, which might lead to fighting or hitting other children or other individuals, and just thinking before they react, which can be very dangerous sometimes. Treatment and therapy: there's no cure for autism, as I said before. There are ways to cope with it, and ABA therapy is probably the most expensive, but the most sought after therapy. It's applying scientifically proven behavior techniques to improve behavior. It'll measure the behavior and teach functional skills like running and walking and maybe writing, and it also evaluates the progress of these individuals. Most people with autism have little to no speech, and they may need a speech therapist. There's behavioral training. The spectrum disorder, the behaviors will vary greatly. This behavioral training is when they watch the different behaviors and different outcomes if they're positive or negative. And then there are medicines for the side effects of autism, for the ADHD, the stress, the anxiety. And then there are also support groups for parents, caregivers, doctors. There's many different support groups that parents can join for support and learning different techniques to deal with the individual with autism. This is also a costly disorder. According to the Autism Society of America, autism costs America $90 billion a year. That's $3.5 to $5 million per individual, which includes insurance, education, therapy, and don't forget about research. There's hope for an increase in federal funding because this is a growing disorder. There are alternative measures you can take, or there are alternative measures that people take to decrease the cost by finding different techniques to deal with autism, like the fine arts. There's music, art, and dance, which all are relaxing ways for individuals with autism. Working with autism in a child care setting is a little more one-on-one for the child. Finding a trusted caregiver and having open communication with that caregiver will be the best for the child. And the best training for working with autism is experience, and that's a first-hand account because I have worked with a child with autism, and I was kind of nervous at first, but after getting to know the child and learning his mannerisms and what he needed and what he wanted, it was easy for me and fun for me to work with this child. In a school setting, the teachers are creating new programs to help these children, and they're trying new fads every year. There's a lot of one-on-one programs because they have paras, and then there's also speech therapists that work at the schools and have individual time with each child. Living as an adult, most people with autism will live almost normal lives. Some of them will be unable to live alone, and some will be able to live with an aid or in an aided community. Children will never outgrow autism. America is learning more about autism every day, but it is a growing disorder which can be severe, disruptive, and sometimes violent. But the more we understand and the more we learn through research, the more that we can help those in need.